California Congressman Khanna. Congressman Khanna, great to have you back on the program again. I Civ Pro 101. I was long ago. I'm confused. Hakeem Jeffries is saying that we need a few House Republicans to come over to change this, but hasn't the House already passed a debt ceiling lift bill?
They've passed a conditional bill. What we want to do is just say, in America, we pay our debts. There are 212 House Democrats who've said that. And if we had 6 other Republicans say, let's pay our bills, and then we can get on with figuring out how to reduce the deficits, that would solve this. It's one easy way of solving it.
But what does that mean, passed it with conditions? I mean, if nothing happens, would this bill raise the debt ceiling, or it just wouldn't be enacted? Where does it stand sort of in the procedural process?
Well, first of all, they don't have the votes in the Senate, so the House bill would be dead on arrival in the Senate. They couldn't get the 60 votes. You could, in my view, through the Senate, get a clean debt ceiling increase. That basically means what past Congresses have authorized, instructed, demanded that the president spend, he should spend. And this Congress then can figure out what we want to do to reduce the extraordinary spending. And 2 places we can start is the 60 Minutes report last night of the outrageous price gouging defense contractors. Defense is over 50% of discretionary budget. And we can look at the extraordinary costs in our healthcare system, prescription drug costs, hospital facility fees. Let's start there.
Yeah, I don't think that should be a bipartisan issue, Congressman. I mean, it's well reported that there may be $100 billion per year in waste, fraud, and abuse in Medicare. In other words, it's not about taking medical care away from vets or grandma. We shouldn't be shipping it over to maybe Russian hackers who have used somebody's identity. We all saw the Defense Department stuff. I tweeted about that as well. That could add up to maybe even a couple $100 billion a year, which I think is part of the sticking point between the two sides. How come that very rational, nonpartisan conversation is not being held, at least on camera?
Well, I think it can be held if we pay our bills. Now, people say, well, if we pay our bills and have this clean debt ceiling increase, how will we know that politicians in Washington are going to be true to their word and actually reduce the deficit? Here's the great thing. Just like it's people's money, people get to vote. And if the Democrats don't make good on reducing the spending on waste, fraud, and abuse, they can vote us all out in 2 years. They can vote the president out. So I have faith in the American public. I just don't think we should be linking reducing the deficit to paying our bills.
Is there you heard my setup, my RBI random but interesting point. I mean, and is there an acknowledgement among sort of more centrist Democrats, I think like yourself, which is that, you know what, we probably have a spending problem, but we have a revenue problem, but we also have a spending problem. We're now spending 24% of GDP. The historical average is 21%. We're raising 20% of GDP. Historical average over 50 years is 17% as well. I mean, where is the money going, Congressman?
Well, just to be clear, I'm a progressive Democrat, but I thought your report was very interesting. I'd make 3 points on it. First, it shows you need to be pro-growth in this country. If you have production, entrepreneurship, innovation, you end up increasing tax revenue. Second, we still are a low-tax nation compared to Europe and the OECD. We're one of the lowest tax nations, and that's just important to put into context. But third, we do need to look at where we can cut spending. 2 places, in my view, are the extraordinary healthcare costs, and we're at 20% almost of GDP, and defense costs that are going to defense contractors that are not, that really aren't making us safer. I think let's have a bipartisan group of looking at where there's waste, where there's fraud, and start reducing spending there.
We are a lower cost. I want to push back a little bit, Congressman, respectfully. We are a lower cost or lower tax nation compared to OECD, but look what they get for their money. I think that a wealthy constituent in your area is at 37%, not all of it. Let's call it a 26% average effective tax rate. Add another 12% for Medicare. Add another 8% effective for California because you got to average out the income. You're at 40% of your income is being taken by either the state or the federal government, and yet we're not getting free college. We're not getting free health care. The wine's expensive. At least in France, the wine is cheap.
Well, look, you're not going to get an argument with me about the importance of free health care or free college, but let's not undersell the United States of America. I mean, the world got vaccines because of our innovation. We're defending Ukraine because of our strength. We gave the world GPS. We gave the world the internet. America's response to COVID in a bipartisan way was the most best response in the world. Now, you could say we overshot perhaps and overheated the economy, but there are a lot of things that the American government gets right. I do agree, though, that we've got to do better for ordinary working class Americans. That's been the challenge.
Yeah, I think in your point at the top, Congressman, we'll let you go, is just kind of mind your own house with all that waste, fraud, and abuse, hundreds of billions. It feels like both sides could just basically come together, find that money that both sides want. They can claim spending cuts. You can claim that we were still funding this and that. And guess what? The Russian hacker would be the only one potentially who lost. Congressman Khanna, thank you very much.
Thank you.
All right, you're very welcome.